So this is
Yeah.
your family.
And this conveys survival and continuity.
That's right.
It almost wasn't going to be.
How many children do you have?
We have 3 children,
Beautiful.
all happily married, 9 grandchildren, and 3 great granddaughters.
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
So when the little one, the eldest, was born, Leah Tova, we were 5 generations of women.
That's amazing.
Way down the line.
I'm sure you have a picture of that, I hope.
Yeah, it's not as the greatest, but we do have a picture of that.
That's great.
So the important thing is to have a picture of it, right?
Of course. That's a big
So
quote.
it's good. Yeah, it's good. Okay.
Was there anything in the book that you didn't write about that I can add in my project? Any special stories?
Phew, that was never asked of me. Gee, didn't give that any thought. Every once in a while, something reappears in my mind that may not be in the book. It took me a while to, was interviewed with the different games that I used to play. I'm sure it's in there in the book. It's first of all, I would search for the 4 pebbles. In my mind, if I were to find them, that would mean that the 4 members of my family would all survive, because we had nothing to occupy our time with constructively. Nothing. No paper, no pencils, no books, certainly no games. So I was lucky at such an imaginative mind. And these imaginative games were all based on a positive attitude. And somehow, and they were my survival skills. They were my survival techniques. Somehow we all have survival techniques within us. When the need arises, we just have to search for them, find them, and be sure that we put them to work. Because no one is spared adversity, no one is spared hardship. We all have to overcome obstacles at one time or another, but with perseverance, determination, faith, and above all hope, one can overcome just about anything and everything.
I agree.
So, but unfortunately, not everyone has that inner wherewithal.
Did they
And
practice? Like, did they light Shabbat candles in the camp? Was it any way that maybe they could do? They were hiding things? No, nothing?
No.
I've seen different
Not
articles
in
of
the
where they
camp.
hid.
It depends. It depends on the situation.
Right.
Early on, when we were in Westerbork in this camp in Holland, we were able to practice, but in Bergen-Belsen, no way.
I've seen
Triple-decker
articles where
bunk
people
beds
hid little menorahs and hid little things. and-
Yeah, well, everyone had their own little thing, and depended on the camp, and it depended on the time of the
Yeah.
war.
Right.
And towards the end, Bergen-Belsen, all there it was, and we had our food, was just some potatoes, potato peel, turnips, nothing, and piece of bread once a week.
Wow.
And first it was one a day, and then they gave us once a week, whatever their whim, whatever they decided to do. So, and during Pesach, and we somehow knew when the holidays were, because the Jewish calendar goes by the moon, so we knew when there was a new moon and had an approximate awareness of what time of year it was. So we knew it was about Pesach, so we used to make believe that our turnips were matzah. So we just improvised.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was there a specific schedule there? Was there something that you knew, or sometime what was a typical day there?
A typical day was, first of all,
Maybe more so for your mother. More so.
yeah, well, my mother had to work, and my father worked. My brother, at the age of 12, no. But what he saw in my brother, let me just talk about my brother. He deals with this altogether differently than I do. He will not talk about it as freely as you hear it from me. Lives in California and is happily married. By choice has no children, and has a very difficult time with organized religion, including ours. So he deals with this altogether differently. And as sad as this is, I don't fault him, because I know that he saw and experienced things that I did not, having been in the men's section. Our man upstairs, God puts us on this earth. gives us a beautiful mind. It is this mind that allows us to choose right from wrong, good from evil. We are capable of making choices. Therefore, men did this to one another. But did he have to make it so bitterly cold? We were standing out there on a Appel all day. I have a direct line, ask loads of questions, don't get too many answers. But that's okay. Faith I will always have. After all, here I am, 3 children, 9 grandchildren, 3 great-granddaughters, from whom generations will be forthcoming. He made sure that enough of us survived so that we will always be here. And when I speak to an audience, mixed audience, I tell them that I'm very proud of my religion, and I'm sure that they too are proud of their religion and their heritage, but to please, please respect the right of others to their belief. Be kind and good and respectful towards one another.
Of course.
That's the basis for peace.
That's true.
Period.
Was everyone with you all Jewish in the camp?
No. In our section, yes. But in other areas, even Bergen-Belsen had different sections, not necessarily. Prisoners of war. And
Interesting.
they had to wear these striped
Different.
prison garb. We could wear our own clothes, but we had nothing to change into
Oh,
a year and a half.
wow.
We never brushed our teeth. We had no soap, next to no water to wash. That's where the typhus came in.
Yes.
Yeah, and so many people died of typhus, as did my father. 6 weeks after our liberation.
Oh,
And my 12-year-old brother helped bury him. So it was, and there was my mother at the age of 37, left a widow, 6 children. She herself was deathly sick. No money, no home, no country.
Where did she go? Where did she
When
take you?
after that, we went to Holland. We certainly weren't going to stay in Germany. We're from Germany. So we went to Holland. And then we started all again in Dutch. And it was very difficult. My brother and I were in a youth aliyah home in preparation to live in what was then British-controlled Palestine. And we know, of course, today is Israel. And so we were in this home. That's where we started our education. I, at the age of 11 and a half,
Wow.
in Dutch, a foreign language. We learned Hebrew. And 3 years later, we came to the United States because they didn't want parents to accompany their children to Palestine. They didn't want adults, they just wanted children at that
Really?
time. Because the British were afraid, there was still British controlled, afraid that the adults would oppose them and create a problem. So anyway,
So your
my
mother
mother wasn't going to be separated from us, so we made arrangements to come to the United States. And we arrived here on April 23rd, 1948, exactly 3 years to the day after our liberation.
Wow.
We were liberated April 23rd, 1945, and we came here Erev Pesach.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions, Danielle?
One more. Being that you were so young, what was the worst thing that you've seen that you, like, if you remember something, what's one thing that you remember that was the worst thing you've ever seen?
To be surrounded by death constantly. And we couldn't wait for the days to be over because people were just dying and moaning and groaning and in pain, and the filth and the dirt. We were covered with lice. I learned there was a difference between head lice and clothes lice, and squashing them between my thumbnails became my primary pastime.
Wow.
So we couldn't wait for the days to be over, but we couldn't wait for the nights to be over because people were moaning and groaning and dying. So it was 2 people in one bunk, triple-decker bunk beds, and the bunks were no larger than the cot beds that we're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one day seeing a wagon that I thought was firewood for the one small oven in our barrack. Oven was never used, of course. And I soon realized that the wagon was filled with dead bodies thrown one on top
Wow.
of the other. And they were just like pieces of wood because
And you were a child.
So,
It's just,
and that's what you're surrounded by. Yeah.
it's horrible to see that at any
But
age.
I separate myself from it. It works for me. And I'm told by psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever they are, that's not good. It's not good for you, Marion. You have to have closure. Don't tell me how to deal with this, okay? Everyone deals with it in their own way. And this is how I can only do this because I was so young. My brother, again, only 2 years older, has a much
Everybody is different. Everybody's nature is different. Everyone's mind is different.
Of course.
You could have been younger than you, maybe dealt with it differently as well.
Okay.
It's,
Yeah.
it's working for you, though.
Yeah, it does, and that's it.
And you're able to share your story and
Yeah.
to inspire people
Yeah.
who think, you
Let
know.
me add your name to that book. Right? You don't need two books.